Here we are at example 4 from our 4.3, number 5, second set of notes. We're asked to factor down this trinomial. And rule number 1 is we always start off with things with a GCF. And fortunately for us, we can. They are all evenly divisible by 2. So we would pull that out first. Okay, so we would have 2 times 6m squared plus 13m and then minus 5. All right. And so now our A, B, and C are actually smaller and we have less factors to have to deal with. Okay. So now we can't factor anything else out, so we're going to go ahead and create our X. And our A times C goes in the top part, so we have 6 times 5, which is 30. And our B value is 13 in the middle. For our list, again, we create it for A times C, so that's 30. We have 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and unfortunately, and 5 and 6, and that should be it. All right, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is look at our list and ask ourselves which pair combines to give us that B value 13. Well, we see that 2 and 15 does that, but so does 3 and 10, right? And if you're asking yourself, well, how then do you factor that? Like, this is the first time we've had 2 different pairs kind of give us that same B value, right? And it actually comes down to boiling down to the signs, okay? So what I mean by that, for example, is let's take a look at 3 and 10 first. Let's just say you did those 2, okay? So you go and you have 3 and you have 10. And you're like, I really want to use these ones. Now, you've got 6m squared plus 13m minus 5. And you're trying to break down with 3 and 10. So, okay, 3m and 10m, right? Well, in order to get that to be a positive 13, both of these would have to be a positive, right? Well, the problem with that, though, is when we look at our list for the factors of 30, that 3 is positive, and so is the 10, right? Well, positive 3 times a positive 10 to give you your C value is a positive, and unfortunately, we need a negative, okay? So this is where some of the signs are more important. Most of the time, guys, your pairs are not going to be, that B term that you're looking for, okay? They're not. In other words, this is a little bit more of a rare situation when you see a pair and another pair both give you that B value. What it boils down to, though, is the signs, and when you run into that issue of, oh, well, in order to get my B value, both of these need to be positive. However, looking at my C value, I see that it's negative. Again, when you find that product, it's not giving you that negative that you need, okay? So that really helps you then in figuring out which pair you're trying to get, okay? So in fact, actually, we're going to go with our 15 and 2. Again, just because 3 and that 10, they're not going to be able to combine to give you that negative 30 that you're hoping for. So now we're going to go ahead and use our 2 and our 15. And in order to get that normal 13m in the middle, we would need a positive 15m and a negative 2m. And then our 6m squared is going to drop down, and so is our negative 5. All right. Now going ahead and factoring by grouping, we split this down the middle. We've got a 2m that we can pull out of the first term. So then we're left with 3m minus 1. And we notice that we can pull out a 5 from the second one. And so we would be left with 3m minus 1. Notice how they both share the common factors, 3m minus 1. So we would pull that out. And we would be left with 2m plus 5. if you're kind of sitting there and you're like, well, I'm still not 100% with those signs, and how you know it is this pair, go ahead and try distributing it. Check it. So 3m times 6m is 6m squared. And 3m times 5 gives us positive 15m. And negative 1 times 2m gives us negative 2m. And negative 1 times a positive 5 gives us negative 5. These combine to give us that 13m that we needed originally. And this is where kind of like more that big thing comes into play. That negative 5 comes out to be what we needed in the end. Okay? So again, though, if you're like, I'm still not 100% with the signs, you can always check and distribute as well, just to kind of make sure, hey, I got my correct pair that I needed from the list. Again, guys, that's pretty rare. That doesn't happen too often where multiple pairs give you that B term, okay? But again, though, that is example 4 from our 4.3, number 5, second set of notes.